There we are. Hello,
All right.
everyone. Hello around the world. Thanks for joining us wherever you are. So for me, it's the morning. For Jess, it is the evening.
Yes,
Hi,
ma'am.
Jess. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
We're so excited. So for those that are joining us right now, we are officially kicking off the first ever, so our inaugural PADI Adaptive Diving Week. And to do that, we have invited Jessica Pita, one of PADI's AmbassaDivers, to join us. And we're just going to have an awesome conversation about her experience in diving and what it's like to dive as being blind, which is going to be so fascinating for some people to hear about. But before we kick into that, I just wanted to just read a little bit about you for the audience that doesn't know you, and just talk about some of your accolades and achievements and the things that you're into. So Jess is a disabilities activist with her motivational speaking platform, Flying Blind. When you have a blog, Instagram page, and that's your Instagram handle, and you are a keynote speaker. You're a university student majoring in psychology and anthropology. Definitely want to hear more about that. You are also a legally blind show jumper. So you ride horses, which is incredible. We definitely want to hear more about that. You're a writer for the Portuguese newspaper Voz Portuguesa. You are a social media influencer, a blogger. You are obviously one of PADI's AmbassaDivers. You just got open water certified a couple months ago. Actually, no, it's been a year, almost a year now.
Yeah, about a year ago, yeah.
So you're an adaptive scuba diver. You are the South African Guide Dog Association Wear Your Shades Day campaign AmbassaDiver. Sorry, I kind of butchered that. And you are also the Brevecto Animal Health Ambassador. Sorry. What does the Brevecto Animal Health Ambassador do?
So the Brevecto is basically like an animal health kind of company. So they provide tick and flea kind of protection and all of those kinds of products. So they just partnered up with me. I think it was their 10th birthday, and then they asked me to be the ambassador for their campaign.
And you're obviously an animal lover because you have your doggy Fudge that is your companion that probably goes everywhere with you.
Yep. I try to take her to pretty much everywhere I go, actually. Yeah.
Except for right now, you put her outside, right?
Yeah, I put her outside because I just know every time I join a meeting or interview or something, she gets so excited when she hears someone else's voice, like, oh my gosh, I need to say hi. And then, oh my goodness, to get her to sit down.
So you've been, sorry, I have something in my throat this morning. You've been diving now for a year. This has been a pretty incredible year for you. I didn't list off probably the amount of interviews that you've gotten with outlets like The Guardian out of the UK. You can probably list some of the other ones for us. Since you became a PADI open water scuba diver, it's just kind of been this really probably exciting year for you since last November. And why don't you kind of talk about that experience, like what brought you to scuba diving in the first place? And after like all this time, what was the impetus that got you into the water?
It definitely has been quite a journey and quite an experience. And I'm not going to lie, it was definitely very unexpected because scuba diving has literally it was never a part of my plan of what I was going to do, what I was going to partake in. Because I mean, like, horse riding, I thought about doing it from a really young age, and then I kind of took it up because I liked the sport. But scuba diving, I had always seen it as a sport that you do because of the things that you can see under the water. So I was, and the communication to add to that, like, it's very visual based. So I never really thought about doing it. But then when the opportunity kind of came across, I was like, you know what, it could be interesting. Maybe I should just try it. And then when I did do it, it was kind of all based on the adaptive dive techniques program that PADI was bringing to South Africa. And they kind of wanted a test subject to see how this would go down. So they got a bunch of dive schools around South Africa to meet at a pool, and then kind of use me as the test subject to see how it would go, see if this techniques program would be like successful. And it definitely was. And then ever since then, like I can't imagine my life without scuba diving. Like it's so cool. Like yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's just amazing.
What was the most unexpected thing for you when you got into
In
when you got into the ocean for the first time? What was the most unexpected?
Definitely the noise of the sea, because when you're, I'm since a very really young age, I was one to be in the pool like every day, on as many times in 1 week I would get into the pool as possible. So I was always in the water. And like, if you try and compare a pool to the ocean, it's totally different. And especially a pool dive to a sea dive, I mean, that the noise of the actual living reef was insane and totally unexpected, because I didn't even know how to explain it when I came out of the water. Like, that whole crackling sound of the reef being so alive, it was so weird but so incredible at the same time. I just loved that.
I have two questions. Have you been in the ocean, apart from going diving, have you been spending any time in the ocean recently until you became certified? Were you still going into the, or just maybe going into the pool?
Sorry, could you please repeat your question? It just broke a little.
Yeah. Have you gone, so until you until you were getting certified,
Yeah.
had you been in the ocean recently? Or was this kind of the first time you really had gone out and been submersed in the ocean in maybe a really long time?
So in terms of actually going into the sea, like the closest I've been is kind of like snorkeling, but it wasn't really, it was nothing compared to scuba diving. So I'd say that that's the closest I've been in like the middle of the ocean. Otherwise, we usually, like, as we grew up, we had beach holidays, maybe like once a year or once every second year. So then, we kind of be on the beach, stay in the tidal pools, but never really go out. And my family is not really a strong swimming family. So it was never really an agenda to get like very invested into doing kind of sea sports or anything like that. So then when I started scuba diving, I'd say that that's the very, very first time that I got to really experience the ocean.
You said that it was really loud, like the cacophony of noise was maybe the most surprising thing. I'm just curious, when you, I guess you have, because of this loss of sight, you have enhanced hearing typically underwater, because that's what your focus kind of, that's what's happening. Does that happen on land as well? Do you hear better just walking around like in a city, or does you notice things, or is that just become more common now for you? Like, you don't notice as much as maybe underwater became such a strong response?
Well, I think just on a kind of biological perspective, I was told by doctors that my other senses would feel a lot more enhanced because of my loss of vision. And I definitely can pick that up, like in my hearing and my smell and things like that. So even on land, like being in a busy place, or even like a busy restaurant, it's just like so overwhelming with the like level of noise. So I definitely say that my hearing like highly compensated, as well as my smell. But like hearing, it's kind of an inside joke in my family. We call my hearing or my ears my radars, because I'll pick up conversations that are happening on the other side of the room. And so
don't tell secrets around you is what you're saying. Don't tell you what you're getting. Don't let anyone know what they're getting you for your birthday when they're in the same room as you, because you can hear them.
Yeah, that's what has happened so many times, like birthdays, Christmases. They'll try and whisper to each other, and I could literally be like, okay.
That's great. That's amazing. For you underwater, when you said it was just, yes, so loud, and like, I think you said in a good way, as opposed to maybe being in a city, was that, so a lot of people that go diving, they go diving because it's like they actually call it sensory deprivation, because they kind of just calm down, and everything seems quiet to them. So it's almost the opposite. Did you still find experience calming for you, or was it more exciting and more like did it stimulate you more than calm you?
I think for me, it's kind of a balance between the two, because
Uh-huh.
hearing something so different and being in a surrounding where I'm not really sure what's happening all the time, because I mean, like, I can't feel what's happening around me, like, via my sense of touch, or I
Yeah.
can't see what's happening around me. So I think that's the thrill of it, like the unknown makes it really exciting for me. But then at the same time, it's so calming and so relaxing in the way that I don't need to listen for like a particular purpose, because when during my daily life, like, my senses is what I kind of use to build a kind of a premise of where I'm supposed to go, where is the person that I need to meet, or like which direction. Like, it literally builds onto what I'm supposed to do each minute of every. Even like crossing the road, listening for cars to make sure that Fudge and I can cross the street without being hit over.
Uh-huh.
So all my senses have like a purpose and a reason. But then being underwater, because I can just rely on my, like my buddy diver to guide me, I don't need to listen for a school of fish that's going to come across us. Like, it's not for a purpose or something like that. Like, I
Yeah.
can just listen to listen.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. And
Yeah.
wait, could you hear a school of fish come by pretty well, like in advance?
I mean, I can hear parrotfish chewing on coral,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, I don't think they say that if you go on night dives, you can hear the difference between, like the nocturnal fish
Yeah.
via, well,
Mhm.
compared to what you'd hear during the day. So I want to really like do a lot more night dives in different places to see if I can pick that up, because I haven't really done many night dives. I think I've only done one, actually.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so to hear the different types of fish. But yeah, like, I can hear parrotfish chewing on hard coral. It's just that crackling of the reef. But yeah, I wanna try and test how far I can determine.
Definitely. I have to say that it's because of you and meeting you that the first dive I went on after hearing about your experience, I never thought about listening underwater. And when I heard about your experience, it's like, I'm going to close my eyes next time, or I'm just going to really focus on the sense of hearing underwater and what that's like. Because I honestly never gave it much attention. And it's true. You can hear, it's just adds another layer and it makes it very
Mm.
interesting. And what I think is so fascinating, like what you just said, is that every reef basically has an audio footprint. And not to say that you would maybe, I mean, you could maybe like a person recognize a reef by its sound, but you can recognize the health of a reef by its sound, because obviously a very live reef living with lots of biodiversity and fish life will be a lot more active than a dead reef,
Yeah.
which is, and we know our friends over at Calling Our Corals, that's what they're doing. And I think that's incredible, that that's something that we can actually do scientifically, is listen to that. I think that's so interesting that that's something. So real
Yeah.
quick, I just wanted to do, anyone that's just joining us, welcome to our live session with PADI AmbassaDiver, Jessica Pita today. We're kicking off PADI Adaptive Week and having an awesome conversation. And if you have a question that you want to ask Jessica, please type it in the chat and under the comments, and I will do my best to try to incorporate that through our conversation. And feel free to add we have a couple of people that have said hi and hello from Norway. So
Oh, that's
in
so
a couple
cool.
of years, comment
Yeah.
Argentina. So Jessica, real quick, because I know you said you write for a Portuguese newspaper. How did that,
Mm.
how you said 4 languages?
Yeah, so, well, not fluently. So
Yeah.
in school, I learned a bit of Afrikaans. That was kind of our main language that I had to take till the end of my high school career. Then obviously English is my home language. Portuguese when I was younger, so till like the end of junior school. And then I also did French until the end of matric. And then in junior school, I also had to do Zulu. So I had an
Wow,
experience
that's cool.
with
That's
languages.
very cool. That's awesome. Um, Okay, so going back to, we were talking about really quick also, we did not even talk about where you're located right now. So we just jumped right into the whole diving thing. Do you want to tell people where you're calling in from today?
Sorry, you broke up again. Oh no.
Oh, yeah, it's one of our signals, but it's okay. We're making it work. Where are you calling in from today? Where are you located in this
Oh,
in the
all
world?
right.
Yeah,
I am calling from South Africa.
nice. And that's where you were born and raised, obviously, based on your school experience that you just shared with us, correct?
Oh no.
It's
I
a,
keep
it's okay.
I keep losing you.
It's okay. We're gonna make it work. It's fine. The signal's just, I think, going in a little bit. I think it's okay on my
I don't
side.
know what.
You're there. I can see you.
Okay, I think I
Good.
can hear you now.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, okay. I think you're back. I think you're
Okay.
back.
Okay. All right. So getting back into diving, we were talking about what you're hearing, but let's
Mm.
talk about you talked about being with your dive buddy and how what's that like diving with like the trust that you have to have with that individual guiding you underwater, because you're like, I don't have anything to worry about, as much as like you use the example of crossing the street with Fudge.
Mm.
You're listening to listen, but what's it like? Were you ever scared, or do you have a fear at all, or do you feel like you have to fully trust your buddy, or in some cases your instructor, to really be your sight underwater?
Yeah, that was kind of the things that I loved. One of the things I loved about scuba diving is that it was a, like a lot of what I had to do was based on trust, because obviously I cannot really see what's happening when we go down. So I literally have to rely on my dive buddy. So in the beginning, I mean, like it's weird because I have serious trust issues. But from the beginning, it just happened so easy and so naturally. So I wasn't really ever afraid. But when I thought about doing, like the actual ocean dives, I did kind of consider whether my trust would be like if it would become a problem, because I don't know why, but I just have trust issues, and I think it's just from like bullying and things that happened in like my junior/high school careers. So to build relationships and stuff was really hard for me in the past, but I think with
Mhm.
scuba diving it's kind of helped with that. So being underwater and kind of knowing that I have to trust my dive buddy, I just think that it's pretty insane, because I never really know what's coming, but then I know that I can rely on them, and I think that also makes it a bit more exciting. So yeah, I wouldn't say that I was like necessarily afraid of what was going to happen. Very curious, very excited,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, it helped teach me to trust again properly. But yeah, it makes things very interesting. I'd say that.
And how is your dive buddy or your instructor, in both cases, communicating with you underwater? How are you talking to each other? Because obviously with diving, you're using hand signals. For a seeing person, you're
Mm.
using signals to say, let's go up, let's go down. Did you see this turtle? So what are you doing? What's your system of communication like?
So I love talking about this because it is so fun. Oh my
It
goodness.
is so
So
cool.
with scuba diving, like, it's kind of a common thing that people do hand signals. You have to see each other to be able to communicate. And that was one of the main reasons I didn't really think about scuba diving. Because I mean, like, what kind of blind person would do a sport where you have to see? So it didn't make sense in my head. But when we brought about the when we brought about the adaptive techniques program to South Africa, and when I tested it out, like, just the smallest changes make the biggest difference. And that for me just kind of, it changes your perspective on everything, because it really shows how much you can do if you're just willing to try. um so with the hand signals, we changed it from the visual kind of normal signals like the okay, all of that stuff, to tactile signals. And that's literally based on a rule that I need to be able to feel everything in order to be able to communicate. So me and my buddy are always interlinked via my left hand and their right hand. So it's kind of always like that, if you can see my hands.
Yeah, I can see him.
So yeah. So when we're diving, we're always interlinked like that. So
Okay.
for the signal of okay, for example, so when our hands are interlinked, my dive buddy will kind of like squeeze my fingers, and then that'll be the "Are you okay?" or "Everything's okay," and then I can just sign them the signal back because they
Okay.
can obviously see it. So
Right.
then that's kind of, yeah, so that's kind of how it works. So I can give them the normal visual signals, but then in terms of them communicating with me, I have to be able to feel everything. So then we literally built this tactile hand signals into the normal basic, like the safety signals, the, how much pressure you have, what depth, what time, are you okay? Just all those normal ones that you need to know. And then we also incorporated the different types of fish and sea life. So we brought about tactile signals so that I'd be able to know what's around us. And that's where things got really, really interesting. Because
How so?
there's so many fish. There's so many.
There are quite a lot of fish.
Yeah, there's a lot. So
what were some of the ones you remember? What are some of the ones that you remember?
Well, there's the parrotfish is they just like squeeze my arm here, like my forearm.
Okay.
A butterfly fish, they'll like my dive buddy will come in front of me, take my two hands and stop tapping my arms up and down. So it's very dramatic. Yeah. A clown, the trigger clownfish, they'll take my hand and then kind of make me form a trigger shape, and then they'll squeeze this finger, and then they'll squeeze my nose to tell me that it's the trigger clownfish.
Okay.
Yeah, just in terms of that kind of red nose cliche thing.
Yeah.
And then a trumpet fish, they'll do this with my chin. We just did that as a playing the trumpet thing, or I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah.
So did you guys make
angelfish?
Jess, are these standard signals, or did you and Peter or one of your buddies make up your own that were kind of easier for y'all to remember?
Well, for the majority of them, Peter and I kind of made it up last year when I qualified in Mozambique. But then during the dives, like as I've gone on more and more dive trips and we've explored more reefs and seen more sea life, like we'll have dive briefings before every dive, and then they'll kind of, say what kind of sea life we can expect to see, what fish, what coral, blah, blah, blah. And then as we're going through the briefing before, like all the different fish that we maybe are going to see will kind of establish a signal for that. So we've literally created it throughout the year.
Okay.
So each dive, whenever there's a new fish, we'll just figure out something to fit in. But we try and keep it like as basic as possible. Like a stingray is literally just drawing a circle on my hand and then a line down. So yeah, and then a starfish is just a star on my hand. So we just try and keep it really simple. So yeah, so that maybe hopefully if this kind of tactile signal language can spread globally, like in terms of diving with adaptive techniques and adaptive scuba divers, just getting that basic, like just normal basic signals, easy signals that everyone is able to understand, so that people of different abilities can kind of dive anywhere and it doesn't become too complicated. So it's not something that's known to everyone because obviously like the adaptive dive techniques program is quite recent, but we're trying to make it simple so that it's able to spread easily and everyone can kind of just understand.
Absolutely. And I guess it's cool because you could take anybody listening that wants to be an adaptive buddy you can take a course at a dive center that offers adaptive techniques, and they can teach you how to be a support buddy for someone with different types of disabilities. So there would have to be a specialty, whether maybe you're learning to dive with someone with a physical disability, there's mental disabilities. So if you're interested in diving with someone with a different type of ability, then that's an option at many dive centers around the world. You just have to get trained to do it. And then you can dive with someone like Jess, someone that can't actually walk. We have instructors that teach people how to dive with people with physical disabilities too. So it's a pretty cool program, I would say. Getting more people in the water.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was there a incident with a shark or something that you with Peter?
Oh, the shark, the infamous shark. This story, oh my goodness, everyone loves this story. Yeah. So yeah, it was on my last dive last year when we did the whole project in Mozambique. It was the very, very last dive, so it just kind of ended the trip off so well. We went
Uh-huh.
in, and it was literally as we hit the water and started the descent, we were all in that skydiver position going down, and we were barely in the water for like 10 seconds, and then this huge bull shark just came swimming underneath us. And
Uh-huh.
obviously, it was not that deep, so why is the shark going to be there? Um,
Uh-huh.
and then Peter kind of started freaking out because he's like, I don't know how to show you a shark. And then he literally started whacking me on the head and trying to shout shark through his regulator, which I did not understand.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, dude, stop attacking me. Like, what the heck's happening? And then
Yeah.
he started humming the theme tune to Jaws. So then I was like, oh, okay.
You could hear that underwater pretty good, I guess. I guess you could.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. The thing about Peter, he will take any chance to speak, like any chance, even if it's underwater. Like, he needs to be heard. So yeah.
Okay, so was your reaction one of excitement or fear?
Oh, I got super, super excited, but the thing that was so annoying because I'm like, where is it? I can't see it. No, clearly I can't see it. But it was so cool, like knowing that there's a shark there. Like it was so insane.
Yeah. Do you know how long it hung out with you guys? Or was it just kind of swimming by and then it was gone?
Yeah, well, when the one film guy, he tried to get it on his GoPro. He tried to take a video to show me, but it really did. It just swam like super fast, so it kind of just appeared and disappeared.
Was that so that was probably that was one of the most exciting moments I'm imagining, thinking that you had underwater so far.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
What has have you had any other cool experiences this year since so you got certified in Mozambique, which is incredible. Most people, I think, in this world have not been to Mozambique and been diving there, so that's incredible in and of itself.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
have you been in the water much since then?
Yeah,
This year?
I have. Every time I can get an opportunity to go dive, I do it because it's really just a chance to like clear my head and just escape from the noise of life all the time. So I've been to Sudwana Bay a couple of times. We went to Madagascar in, I think it was July, and
Yeah.
actually next week Monday I'm leaving to Alival Shore. So I'm gonna go test out those waters for the first time.
And where is that located?
It's on the south coast, I think. I'm very bad with directions.
So you're just kind of making your way around South Africa, kind of in the surrounding areas, surrounding islands and areas, coastline.
Yeah, pretty much. But I really want to try and like explore, like going further, like overseas somewhere, maybe Australia. I think there's that. I don't know where it is. I think it's in Iceland or something. That cool dive site between tectonic plates or something. I don't know if I can do it. But
Silver Crack. Yeah. That would be very cool.
Yeah,
literally cool
even
and very
Egypt.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be cool. But even like
That's
places
okay.
like Egypt,
Do,
I keep hearing about the
dry suit and hop in there. That would be very cool.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, if you go travel, who do you hook up with to go diving? Who's going to go diving with you? Do you just dive with, maybe is it someone at the dive center that you would take with you, or how would that work? Or you just take Peter with you everywhere?
So I kind of stick. I mean, I wish my family would dive, but they are scared of the water, I think. But I generally try and stay with like the same dive center. So I'm usually with like the same dive buddy all the time, and they have gotten their qualification for dive, like the adaptive dive techniques program.
Yeah.
So they like we've dived together for a while now. So I'm usually with the same dive buddy. It's maybe 2 or 3 people that's usually on the same trip. And then, yeah, I go by myself, like with them. So none of my family or friends really go. So it's like just the buddies from the dive center. So all my mates are from there. And then with like, in terms of accommodation and things like that, I generally like to take my own room because then I can kind of plan out my space, unpack whatever I need, know where everything is.
Yeah.
And like we tend to go for like self-catering accommodations. So then I'll usually make a plan with my dive buddies to kind of organize meals that they can help me with, because cooking and things in a place where I'm not really used to is really hard in terms of like
Yeah.
using ovens and stoves and all of that stuff. So yeah.
So beyond that, because that seems like a little challenging for sure. When you were learning, or even now, do you still find anything kind of challenging, or what was initially hard for you when you started diving?
I think in the beginning, the idea of going on dive trips, like that was really thrilling for me, because I mean, I just gotten this adaptive diving program like qualification, the first adaptive diver qualified through PADI in South Africa. So, you know, I kind of wanted to make it count, and I wanted to spread awareness and, you know, be able to go on dive trips. But now, because of my whole like trust issues and being able to do things independently via that way and going on trips by myself, that was, I think, a bit kind of nerve-wracking, because I didn't really know what to expect. Because in the past, I've had really bad experiences where I was left behind, or people said they would help me and then it didn't happen. So that kind of was a bit nerve-wracking, because
Yeah.
I don't want to go with someone that I don't know and then they don't really know how to treat someone with kind of a disability that I have.
Right.
So that scared me a little in the beginning. But then after the first dive trip, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like divers in general, like every diver I've met is like a completely different species of human. Like everyone is so nice and so friendly, and like you're just on the same level the whole time, and there's nothing to stress about. So after that first trip, I was like, man, I am riding the wave. Like this is
Aw,
life right now.
nice thing to say.
Yeah.
So you're saying like you feel like the dive community in general is its own species, like a subclass, not subclass, that was the wrong word, but a subspecies of the human species. They're all kind of
literally like
supported and
everyone
trust them, and yeah.
Yes. Literally, yes.
Aww, that's nice, Jess. That is kind of
so
true.
nice.
Like you, or that it, yeah. I've heard the same thing from so many people that are traveling alone, and they don't feel alone when they go diving and they jump on a dive boat and everyone becomes friends. And then you share this incredible experience, and then you go out afterwards, have a beer or whatever, and you just kind of create this bond with people. And if you ever saw them again in your life, you kind of remember that, and you talk about that. So it does definitely become a community. And I'm really glad to hear that you've had a good experience, because I'm saddened to hear that you've had those type of experiences where you were left behind, or that's so good. I'm glad that diving is supporting you in that way, and that you feel good and positive vibes there. That's good.
Yeah, definitely.
What about riding horses? Is it that, well, you obviously must have tremendous trust in your animal, but is it the same type of thing what is that like versus being underwater diving? What does it feel for you emotionally to be on this very powerful animal riding around? You're jumping, correct? You're show jumping.
Well, like with show jumping, it's a bit crazy, I'm not gonna lie. Because in the beginning, the place where I go for my show jumping, they'd never really had someone with a visual impairment doing show jumping before. So literally, as I've started new adventures, I've kind of realized that I've been the guinea pig in pretty much every single situation. So I'm setting myself up here, but anyway, it's okay. It's okay. It's part of the experience.
You're very brave. That's what it comes down to.
So yeah, so with the horse riding and show jumping and stuff, it kind of started with a lead rope. So my instructor would literally be running in front of the horse with a lead rope in like the lunging arena. So it was just a circle, like going round and round. Then we introduced trotting poles, then maybe like a 20 centimeter high jump, and we like took it really, really slow. But then
Yeah.
eventually I was like, I'm getting a bit bored. Like, we need to introduce something more exciting. So then, genius me comes up with walkie-talkies. So I literally went to the shops, bought those little toy walkie-talkies that have like the whole army print and everything, like super bougie. I
Uh-huh.
clipped it onto my riding pants, and then I told my instructor to just yell directions at me. So then we started it that way.
Yeah.
And then a couple of months ago, a place in KwaZulu-Natal, also close to the coast, they donated me a two-way headset, kind of radio system. So I wear sets, and then my instructor wears the sets, and then we literally can talk to each other through this headset. And then she again just like tells me which directions to go, tells me like when the jump's coming up, just things like that. So I literally just rely on her verbal communication so that I know which direction I'm going, whether I need to fix my reins or things like that. And then I kind of just go for it.
That's amazing. You just go for it. What's kind of the biggest, um, I guess the biggest jump or the biggest thing that you've done so far? Do you try to always get bigger, or are you kind of leveled out at where you are? Are you very competitive with yourself in that regard?
Yeah, I like to test myself, test my limits. So I think I'm on about 70 centimeters. I wanted to hit a meter by the end of this year, but there were a lot of like breaks I took because of scuba diving.
Uh-huh.
So it was a bit of a delay, but it's okay. Maybe next year I can hit a meter.
Wow. Amazing. You did say in one of your or I think it was after you got certified, you said that diving was like the coolest thing you've ever done. Do you still feel that way? Yeah.
I think so, because for me, I don't know, I just love doing adventures and like seeing all those crazy things that people kind of, I feel like there's a stigma around all of these like adventure sports, like people are afraid to do. But I think once you get into it, you can really
Uh-huh.
see how like incredible and kind of different it is. So yeah, I'd say between scuba diving and show jumping, like they so thrilling, and you never really know what's going to happen in terms of both of them. So but yeah, I think scuba diving definitely is one of the top things that I've done, because you know, each time you go into the water, you never know, like you literally don't know what's going to happen. So it's just super cool.
What do you say to people when they say, "Why would you go diving if you can't see anything?" I'm assuming you have an answer for that. I'm sure people ask you that all the time.
Yeah, literally every time I talk about scuba diving, that's like the number one question. But yeah, I think it's literally based on the thrill of being under the water, like so many meters down. You're in like in between all of this life that's so different from your normal daily experience. Plus, you know, it's so exciting. You're pushing the boundaries. You're showing that literally anything is possible. I mean, like, I'm a visually impaired person that's going underwater, so I have no form of communication except for what I can feel on my arm or my hand or my face. And it's literally a completely different language. But like, to be able to prove what kind of things are possible, I think it's so nice to get that awareness out there, because so many people get stuck with like those little problems that can push them so far back. And I think that having examples like that, like just making the smallest change and seeing how far it can actually take you, I think is really nice to, you know, come across those stories or come across it in your own actual life with your own type of situation. So just having that kind of inspiration and just, you know, spreading that awareness, I think that's pretty insane to like anyone. So hopefully it can make a change in someone's life.
I know that you're a motivational speaker, and how often are you kind of talking about, or how often are you doing that? Is it something that you're on a normal, like a weekly basis that you're motivationally speaking, or are you mostly using your social media platform for that? Like, what does that look like for you, and how often are you doing it?
Yeah, so with my keynote speaking, I started it around 2.5 years ago. So I go to like schools, companies, just different businesses, different platforms, and then I create like a presentation. Fudge usually comes with me as well, and then we kind of, well, I kind of feature it on my disability and my experience with it, just
Yeah.
in a sense that I can have some evidence behind what I'm saying, and showing people that there are like all of these different situations that you usually wouldn't think about that come with those kinds of problems. But with that, like using that problem as an example that you can kind of turn to make others kind of understand their own problems in like a different perspective, I think helps. Especially knowing that you've had that experience and you know what you're talking about. So
Yeah.
going out to places and talking about it is one of the things that I loved about motivational speaking. And I got to meet like so many different people. There was one point where people would come up to me. I remember after a motivational speaking session I did with a company, afterwards I literally had consultations with people, and they would come and like talk to me and like try and get my perspective on things. And knowing that I kind of could give them a change of mindset of how they could approach the problem, just helping them see their issue in not this huge barrier that's like stopping them from what they can actually achieve, was really like it kind of inspired me to keep building on myself. But then with scuba diving, after last year November, when when I started working with PADI and things like that, and starting the AmbassaDiver program and all of that stuff, this year I kind of put the actual speaking on hold, and I kind of based my motivational kind of platforms on my Instagram, my TikTok, and my Facebook. So that I did a lot more social media work this year. But next year I want to try to go back to kind of speaking on a kind of face-to-face basis.
Yeah.
So
Based on what I have a question and a comment from one of our listeners today. He goes by Strong Buddy. He says, your courage and passion are truly inspiring. You're showing the world what's possible with determination and an adventurous spirit. And then he asks you, if you could describe the underwater world to someone who has never experienced it, how would you convey its beauty and essence through your unique perspective? Thanks for the question.
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. If you could describe the underwater world to someone who has never experienced it, how would you convey its beauty and essence through your unique perspective?
Okay. I just want to say thank you so much for the compliment. I really, really do appreciate it. Okay, and then in terms of the question, oh man, to explain the underwater sea world to someone who's never experienced it, I would say that it's kind of this, it's a world that's so familiar in terms of if you've experienced maybe like aquariums or watched Finding Nemo, like you kind of get a sense of what it's about, but when you actually experience it, it's like so much bigger, so much more like curiosity, mystery, amazement. Like it's just a new level. Like it just blows your mind big the ocean really is and how much is actually down there. So to experience it, I feel like you need to get tank and go for it. Okay? Yeah. Just go diving.
I have a question for you. What does it feel like? Like, how do you feel like, can you tell how deep you are? Like, do you feel like you're, like if you were 70 feet versus 20 feet versus 100 feet, can you kind of feel where you are, like suspended in this water column or in this big immersive space? Or what does that feel like to you? Do you
So
can't really
in terms of
or feel to see the bottom, or do you just feel like you're in the middle of this thing?
it's a really good question, and I feel like I can half answer it because I can't necessarily like tell how deep I am, but as we're descending, my ears automatically equalize, so I can tell that we're going down, we'll tell that we're going up, And then because I have a limited like amount of vision, I can sometimes see when it's getting like darker or lighter. So in terms of whether we're nearing the surface, I can sometimes tell that. But to say like if I'm a specific number of meters or feet down, I don't think I'd be able to, like give a specific like, yeah, I don't think I'd be able to tell.
Yeah. But is it a different feeling though? Did the way where you are, does it feel different to you?
I think so, because I think the deeper I go, like I can definitely feel the pressure change.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know if I'd be able to tell like how many meters down or feet.
Jess, for people listening, you haven't always been blind, correct?
No, so I actually lost my vision at the age of 11. I had a brain tumor that was sitting on the cross section of my optic nerves, and they say that it had been there for like a really, really long time. Like I started going to specialists from around the age of 2 years old, and they only picked it up after I turned 11. So about 2 months ish after my 11th birthday is when I had the surgery.
Uh-huh.
And then because of the pressure that the tumor had caused on my optic nerves, the neurosurgeon said that had led me to becoming legally blind with optic atrophy.
So do you have vivid memories from being able to see up until that time?
Yeah, it's weird because it's like I try and use my visual sense of what I had before to kind of make up new things that I kind of encounter now after that I've lost my vision. So things that I know what they look like compared to new things that I've been introduced to after I lost my vision. It
Uh-huh.
kind of gives me a sense on the timeline, like it's almost like my life is split into able-bodied child and disabled body.
Yeah.
So yeah, so if we're talking about like a specific flower that I might have seen before I lost my vision, then I'll know what it looks like. But then if I'm introduced to like a new animal or a new flower, especially with scuba diving, a lot of the fish I don't really know what they look like. So
Yeah.
being able to build that image in my mind is sometimes hard. But if they kind of compare it to something that I have seen, I can kind of form the image. Yeah, I don't know if that
So
makes sense.
one of our listeners had a comment that said, I think it's Yuri, I think that's how you pronounce her name, but it says everyone wants to see the big things, but seeing a 3/4 inch long seahorse hanging onto a piece of flora on the seafloor, it's a completely different feeling. So for you, if I said whale shark seahorse, can you conjure up those pictures in your brain and imagine what that's like when you see that? What do you visually see if I said seahorse? Is it different for you to sense a bigger creature than a smaller creature?
Yes, I would say that just based on the contrast that it would make in front of me if it had to like come in front of me. So mm, if we're like looking at the reef and there may be like I don't know, different crayfish or crabs or small fish like swimming right on the reef, I probably wouldn't be able to tell that they're there because I'm also colorblind. So with the limited vision that I do have, because everything is so extremely like blurry.
Were you always colorblind? So you
No, that came with the optic
Oh,
atrophy.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay, interesting. Okay, got it.
yeah. So because I have kind of color stimulant before I lost my vision, I can kind of like put
Um,
some of the things
okay.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then when people start talking about stuff like I don't know, like teal and all of those art colors that you don't really talk about on a daily basis, I get very
Uh-huh.
confused. But anyway, so yeah, so like with smaller fish or things that are like right there on the reef, because it all just blurs into one thing, I won't be
Uh-huh.
able to see it. But then if I'm looking in front of me, and then I can kind of tell the kind of contrast between the ocean compared to the darker reef, and then maybe if there's some fish that are swimming like on that ocean break in front of you, I could probably like tell the contrast that something is there. So I don't know if maybe it's like a big
Like a
school of
shadow?
fish. Yeah, so I can like tell like yeah, like a shadow or a silhouette is there, but I won't
Mhm.
say like what color it is, how far away it is, how big it is. Like it's just of something.
So can you kind of see right now? Is it like there's there light, a little bit of like, or like at all, or any like shapes in front of you right now, and when you're looking at the computer, I guess.
So now looking at the computer, like I can just tell kind of where my screen is, because of like the breaking contrast between my iPad screen compared to the wall behind it. So I can kind of like see that it's there. It's really hard to explain.
No, well, thank you for answering. I think these are definitely questions that I had, so I'm assuming some other people are just. It's just incredible. That's all. You're amazing. We have a
Thank you.
question from Patty actually. Um,
Oh,
we heard you will be completing the full face mask certification next. Are you looking forward to this?
yes, I'm so excited.
Very
So
cool.
Pita actually, yeah, I actually saw Pita last week Thursday, and we were talking about it. So he says he kind of wants to try the full face mask and see if I can qualify as like a full face mask diver. Um, and then maybe instead of diving with a buddy like interlinked all the time, we can maybe like go our separate ways and still be able to communicate, so that I
Okay.
can kind of get that independent diver feel,
Yeah.
but also not getting totally lost underwater. So that would be kind of cool. Yeah.
That's exciting. Do you know when you're going to start doing that?
Yeah.
Any idea?
Well, he's saying hopefully January, February next
Oh,
year, just
cool.
because he's busy with a bunch of IDCs now.
That is so exciting. Um,
Yeah.
what I'd love to ask you, based on your experience also as a motivational speaker, what advice would you have for those listening that are adaptive needs divers? And this is also based, like, we know not everyone can go diving. Obviously, there's going to be certain things that
Yeah.
preclude people with medical conditions. But if you said earlier, it's like you're like, go diving, go do it. And I've talked to other adaptive divers that are saying, like, just try, just if you can, if you get cleared medically to go do it. I know, but I know that taking that first step sometimes is, challenging. I also think there's a level of, like you said, like, oh my gosh, I never even thought about doing that. It's just something that didn't cross my mind until it was like put in front of me. So for those listening, I guess that are also maybe know someone that is an adaptive needs diver, or I mean, sorry, adaptive needs person, what would you tell everyone on the
Yeah.
phone, like adaptive or not adaptive, or visually impaired, or hearing loss, or whatever it is? What would you tell them about diving, about getting
Well,
them
I'd
anything, I guess, what they want to do?
yeah, literally anything. Yeah. That's true. Um, well, it's actually like I've learned it with experience personally, that it literally comes down to like the most simple change that's like right in front of your face, like it's staring you in the face. Just that small change can make the biggest difference and make it so much easier for you. Like depending on obviously what your ability is, just making it work for you is the biggest weapon. So like for me, it was changing the dive signals from visual to something that I can feel. And
Mhm.
it sounds complicated because there's like a vast number of fish and so many different signs. But once you become used to it, it's literally like second nature, and it becomes a part of you and a part of whatever you're doing. So it literally, if you're willing to just be creative, flap your arms underneath the water and probably look really weird, just like doing the crazy things, but it ends up making the biggest difference to be able to give you that sense of independence and empowerment over yourself to be able to do it. I think if you get that chance, you definitely should try, even if it feels scary or weird or embarrassing, or like you're nervous about it. It's literally taking that first step and seeing if it works, trying if it works. Because when you kind of start testing it out, you can like change it, adjust it, see what makes it work for you. And when it gets comfortable enough, then you literally go full force. Like when you know that it works, you just know that this is going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine. It's going to work out. Like I also play several different instruments, and being able to change the little techniques to be able to do that made it so much more easier for me to just even do that, like have some fun on some drums or guitar. And it's literally down to the small things, and that makes the hugest difference to be able to give you that ability to literally do anything. So I think if you're just willing to try it out and test it, you become comfortable. It literally becomes like second nature.
What about beyond that? I think there's a little bit, and I think this is for anybody, to start something new. Maybe you feel like alone, or you don't have the support. And I know that you talked about the community, just feeling the dive community in this instance being just, you were just so blown away by how supportive they were. But what about those people that do feel a little like scared because they're alone? Like it's taking that next, maybe they want to do it, but what advice would you give them to find that, like that there's people out there that will help you, and trusting, and you had to trust, you had to like kind of compromise with yourself and saying, I'm going to trust this process. I'm going to trust this person.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, there is so many situations because of being in that kind of, like having that ability that like people around you don't really understand, or they're not experiencing the same path that you might be on right now. It's like it's not relatable, and I think that's where it becomes a little bit scary, because you're not entirely sure if people are really going to understand of how to treat you or come about helping you, or aiding you in the right ways. And that's one of the things that I forced myself to kind of accept and understand, that I needed to put myself out there in an uncomfortable place to be able to see if it would work, and try and make myself like believe that other people would understand. And I realized that the more I explained myself and tried to make things simple and understandable in a relatable manner, it really helped. So just not being afraid to speak your mind, and try and just ensure that you're getting a message across of how you need assistance, what you may be experiencing or feeling at the moment or at the time. It really helps people around you in terms of helping you in that situation. And for me, the whole trust issues, I literally, I wanted to go on trips, and I knew if I didn't force myself to let other people help me and force myself to start trusting people again, I knew it wouldn't happen. So I put myself in an uncomfortable position, and it paid off. So it might have been scary at first, or nerve-wracking, but it definitely was worth it. And it helped me grow and kind of become more empowered with my disability, like having a visual impairment. And I think that was really important to help me grow. And in terms of motivational speaking and putting myself in these situations where I'm kind of guinea pigging it the whole time, I think it's helped me develop my kind of what could you call it, like the power that I have with my disability, and the confidence that I can kind of take with me having a disability, because I know not everybody's going to understand where I'm coming from or what experiences I might be having, but making sure that I just put my voice out there of what I'm feeling, how I need assistance, what other people can do, what I am able to do, just making sure that there's a clear-cut communication. It really helps in terms of when you may be feeling alone, or maybe feeling nervous, scared, because sometimes, like the easy choice is the wrong choice, and the hard choice is the right choice. So yeah, sometimes you need to make yourself uncomfortable for it to pay off in the end. And that, I definitely would say, is correct.
We have one more question. We're getting up on top of the hour here, but we do have one more question. I think it's a really good one, so I wanted to make sure we got it in. But Mr. V is asking, how did you complete underwater skills like regulator recovery, flooded mask? I mean, she can't see the demonstration, so like, how are you communicating with your instructor to do skills like that? That's a great question.
It is a great question.
Tell us how you did that.
Yeah. So this, again, we kind of incorporated the whole tactile signals. So with like partial mask flooding or full mask flooding, everything, we literally made a signal that I would be able to feel to do it. So we first did it in the pool here back in Victoria, just like half an hour from where I live.
Yeah.
So we did the training before.
We lost you for 1 second. Hopefully you're going to come back here.
A half mask flood. But
Hey,
then
Jess,
with reg recovery, he tapped me on the chin, and then I'd chuck my regulator and then have to find it. Full mask recovery, he'd swipe me above the eyebrow. So we literally just created the signals in a tactile sense.
Jess, can you hear me? Can you hear me? No, I don't think she can hear me.
Oh no.
Can you hear?
Oh no, I think I've lost you again.
Uh-oh. Okay, let's see. Hold on if you're listening.
Okay,
We've lost. Oh, there she is. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Okay.
Yes, I don't know what happened.
We lost. Can you? Okay, we are a little over time. We're going to keep going because I want you to repeat that, and then I want to just. That's the only time it happened this hour, so we're fine. Can you repeat that answer to that question, and then we'll wrap it up?
Okay.
I'm sorry that you have to do that again, but we kind of lost you right at the beginning. We lost you at the beginning, so can you start over? Sorry.
I don't know why I keep losing you. It's weird. My Wi-Fi shows full, so I don't know what this thing is doing. But anyway,
it's okay.
Okay. So with the training and everything, we obviously did in the pool first before I was introduced to the ocean. So we literally just incorporated the tactile signals again. So like with partial mask recovery, my instructor Pita would swipe me like underneath the mask, and then I would like lift my mask a little, let water in, blow it out, do the whole thing. And then if it was like reg recovery, he'd tap me on the chin, and then I would just chuck my regulator out, and then he taught me like how to recover it, all like just the whole process. And then with like the full mask flooding, he'd like swipe me up above my eyebrow. So it was.
Shoot, we're losing her again. Can you hear me, Jess? Jess? Okay, well, this has been an amazing hour. Oh, there's... If you are just joining us or you're still here, thank you for joining us today to hear from PADI AmbassaDiver Jessica Pita. If you do want to hear more from Jessica, her Instagram is flying blind. There she is. Can you hear us again? Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? No? Jess? Okay, she can't hear me, but I see her.
I can hear
there you are. Okay.
Wow, maybe
maybe we should just stop for the day because we are at 10:05 almost. We got through your last answer. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask you one more thing, and then we're going to close up because we had one more question from the audience, and I think it's a good one to end on. Okay. What's your favorite part of the diving experience? Getting in the water, feeling the current, or is it something else?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
It says, what's your favorite part of the diving experience? Getting in the water, feeling the current. So like feeling it, just getting in and getting the thrill of getting in, or is it something else altogether?
I don't actually know what my favorite part is. I think the current underneath, like the swells underneath the water, that kind of tidal current that pulls you, just like riding that is sometimes really, really fun because you can like time it and then kind of, it's almost like you're bodyboarding underwater. So I think that's pretty cool.
All right. First of all, I have to say one thing. Big Beat wants me to tell you that you're a Muppet. And your mom says hello. All right, Muppet. This has been awesome. We obviously are recording this. So if anyone's listening, wants to share this with friends, we are going to repost it. You'll post it, I'm sure. It's just been incredible speaking with you today. Thanks for kicking off this awesome week. Those listening, we are going to be sharing cool content all week, from different divers with adaptive needs divers, from our instructors that are supporting adaptive needs divers that are or adaptive needs divers themselves. And it's just going to be an awesome week to celebrate just getting more access to people and getting them in the experience. It's just
keep cutting me off.
It's okay if you can hear me. You've been awesome. And I know that everyone feels the same way that joined us here today. We posted on your Instagram. We have it here. Ashley, if you want to pop that up. Yep, there it is. X_flyingblind_little x. And Jess, can you hear me? Okay, she can't hear me. It's okay. You've been awesome. Also, we posted a very short little video of Jess today. I think we are going to be making a little bit longer one, but it was a teaser for having her on today.
And I can hear you now.
Okay, we're just talking about your video that we posted about you, talking about what you hear. And we also are going to be sharing a short video about you and Peter, your instructor, and his experience of teaching you, which I know was life-changing for him. And that's just almost brings you to tears listening to that. So is there anything you want to leave any last comments from you to share with the audience, with our listeners before we sign off today? And there's her website, flyingblind.com as well. And she has great blog. Jessica has great blog articles there. Okay, her internet is not working right now. So I think we're going to go ahead and we are going to cut it for today.
Well,
oh, there she is. Lasting comments. Get them in before you go again.
I know. I don't know what this thing's doing. It's so frustrating. Okay, if you guys can hear me, please just start diving. Like, please, because it's going to change your world. It's going to change your world, okay? Like, divers are the people, and it's the sport. So please do it. Okay. Thank you. I hope you can hear me.
Jess. Thanks. We did. We totally heard you. Thanks for everyone for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Stay tuned or join PADI all week to see more great content. Okay. Bye.